Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mamaverse. So today we have a special guest. Hi, Sasha. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing so great. How are you doing?
Great. I want to welcome you to the Mamaverse, a community of for all moms where we focus on their self-care and wellness. So we have Sasha here for all your mamas to help talk about how to find and establish that that work-life balance, which I know is very tricky for a lot of moms, especially if you have more than one kid. And Sasha, I would love to hear just a quick, if you want to do a quick introduction of yourself and what you do.
Yes, absolutely. Well, first, thank you so much for having me. I'm stoked to be here, and I am Sasha, and I'm a former executive who has a master's in social work, and now I'm using my clinical skills to coach women who are killing it at the office but feel like they're failing at home. I mean, how many of us come home and feel like it's a second shift at work? How many of us come home and we're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to walk into? I don't even know what's for dinner. I don't know what's going on at all. So that's where I come in. That's where I come in and I say, girl, you're probably doing too much. Let's figure out what you really want to focus on and let's make it happen for you.
I love it. I love it. So, Sasha, how did you start to get into this line of work, or what inspired you to get into this line of work?
Look, I can tell you that I felt like, oh, I am totally like awesome and killing it because, I'm working in a career field that I love. Like I have a supportive partner. We have kids. Like we're living the dream, right? And at the same time, I felt like as much as we're living the dream, my weekends were not free. It's just running around, it's kid activities, it's like birthday parties and this, and like it just felt like so much. It felt so heavy. And when I tried to talk about it with other moms, they were like, well, yeah, that's just how it is. And I was like, no, 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 no.
Mm.
If after all of the success that I feel like we've put together, accomplished, built in our lives, if we're not the ones enjoying it, like who out there is living their quote unquote best life then? That doesn't mean that you have to like quit your job or divorce your husband and, go to Europe for a year or lay on the beach. But as I started to really go down the journey, I started to see like small changes make a big difference and how much loving yourself matters as well. So I am here because
Totally.
I think every woman deserves it. I feel like we work hard all day, whether you're a mom or not a mom. There's so much that's on our plates. We have so many caregiving roles that we play. We take care, we keep the house running. And I'm here to say, yes, you do that. I want to acknowledge you that you do that. And I want to make sure to take some things off your plate as well. Because what I see is that we always feel not good enough because we're not living up to some unrealistic standard. And we have to change that. We have to change it today.
So you had a very successful career. You climbed the corporate ladder. So how did you make that transition from corporate life into your current business where you're helping other women kind of find that balance? What was the first step that you had to take in order for you to find the balance? Or did you always have the balance to begin with and you just always had things organized and like, you're good to go?
Well, I will say I definitely feel like I've always had things organized because I'm also a minimalist at heart and I'm all about being productive. So, I really like a not just a clean space, but just I don't like clutter. I try to keep my life as simple as possible. That's kind of like my motto. Less is more, less is more. But to be totally transparent of what my quote unquote maybe like tipping point was or really was where I was like something needs to change is when our oldest we've heard for years that, you know, he needs more attention, you really should talk to somebody, and all of this kind of lingo ever since he was in preschool. And then it kind of got to a point where we said, you know what, we really need outside help. We really, as much as you know, I have a clinical background, like, we need to talk to somebody. And as we started down that road and we tried to, you know, have a new way of life in helping him with his difficulties and the therapy and everything like that, you know, I started to realize that as much as I'm like, oh, I thought I was doing great, you know, my family life was suffering. My relationship with my oldest was not anywhere where I wanted it to be. I want to be remembered as a mom who was having fun, as someone that I can talk to, not someone that always yells at them because, you know, their brain is made up differently than, you know, maybe an average kid. So my expectations were for an average kid, and now we need to adjust. So that was really where I was like, oh, we really need to do things differently. And when we started down that road of not just helping him, but helping us as a family of creating better memories. That's honestly where it is, like creating better memories. We started to look at, okay, well, where else in our life do we want to make those adjustments? And part of it is, you know, this is like a passion project for me. It turned into a business in a way, because I'm so passionate about helping other working moms, because I see these amazing educated women that are climbing this corporate ladder, and then you see them at the park, it's like totally different. It's like a different version. And I'm like, let's utilize some of those skills that you do at the office. Like, you would never put up in the office of somebody not meeting a deadline or somebody not this or that, right?
Yeah.
But we put up with so much at home because we aren't being proactive. We're just in a reactive sense at home. We're just we come home, we're like, what's going to be thrown at us right now, versus thinking ahead of how do I create a home I love? How do I create those memories that I want at home with my family?
I totally hear that. And you know, I have one daughter and I feel overwhelmed sometimes. And like you said, like, I feel like in business, I'm like very organized and like very controlled. I usually know what's going on, but sometimes in parenting, it's like a whole nother story. It's like, it's like I don't even have like organizational skills in parenting. I know sometimes it can get a little wild. So what was like the first, like tangible step, organization, method, system that you built that help you start to move in that direction to be able to, I'm guessing, like, systemize your parenting as well? Is that the right way of putting it?
What I would say, it all starts with you. So part of my coaching is I have a 4-step method which focuses on self, home, relationships, and habits. So to me, that's really the foundation of success. So first is self. So the first thing that I always start with any kind is, what are your priorities? Okay? Because again, I feel like we put it so high of the things that we need to achieve, but in reality, are you doing it for yourself? Are you doing it for others? Yes, it would be amazing if your child was in ballet class and gymnastics class and dance class and hip hop class and art and piano lesson and. But what I'm saying is that's not realistic. But maybe for you, that's a value. That's a family value of where you believe that for your family to be successful, for your child to be successful, they need to be involved. Great. Let's prioritize that. But you know, that means that maybe going out with friends on a weeknight is going to look different because you're going to be at practices every night instead. So it's just about, what do you truly want to prioritize? What are your true family values? Like, I can tell you, for us, our number one values, and when you do this as a family, it's such a beautiful exercise. We put them up on our refrigerator, and I can tell you that the number one value that we have is peace in the home. Because again, where I started is the fact for us, and the tipping point was, you know, trying to create better relationships with our older son, with making sure that there's just more peace in the home. So for us, that is our top priority. So any decisions we're making, we're almost looking back and saying, oh, is this creating more peace in the home? It's kind of like your compass of what your priorities are. Because for somebody else, education, maybe number one for their children. And you know what? They're willing to pay the private school funds. They're willing to do the tutors. They're willing to do all of that. There's no right or wrong. What I'm saying is be honest. What is it that matters to you and your family? And do more of that. What we try to do is we always try to say, okay, I'm going to do less. I'm going to do less of social media. I'm going to, turn my phone off and be present with my child. Well, guess what? That's awesome. But that may not be your parenting style. You may enjoy much more of just watching a family movie. Why is that any different of spending time together? And why is it not quote unquote family time or quality time versus if you're like on the floor teaching them ABCs? Maybe you don't want to teach them ABCs.
Right.
That's fine. You don't need to.
Right.
Somebody else does though,
Yeah. I guess that's something that's really tough for moms, especially new moms, is the comparison. Like, oh, I don't take my kids to do these things. I'm not involved in these things. Am I not a good mom? So you put that pressure on yourself, and then that probably causes in itself a lot of stress. So then to follow up on that, like from working with moms and helping them, finding that home life and work-life balance, what have you found to be the most challenging for people to tackle first?
I would say it's the guilt, honestly. It's the mom guilt. The mom guilt, exactly how you started by saying the comparison, or just the feeling that, maybe in your head before you had kids, you had this image of who you were going to be, what type of parent you were going to be. And maybe before you were judging a lot of other parents and saying like, oh, we would never do that. Like our kid will never be the one screaming in the middle of the airport on the floor. I've been there. Let me tell you how fun that is. Like maybe you thought something and now reality looks a little bit different.
Yeah.
And when that happens, then you feel guilty. What do I need to do? How do I make it better? Okay, I'll enroll them in like 5 other classes to make sure that they make up for this or whatever it may be. So the guilt. And what I say to the guilt is kind of my philosophy on the work-life balance. So me personally, I hate the term work-life balance because what it makes me think of is this juggling act. It makes me think of that we as women need to be almost like robots and throw one ball in the air, then the next, then the next, and then the next, the home, the work, the kids, the house, the chores, the schedule, the blah, 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 blah. But it's not that black and white, and it's not that routine. So instead, what I try to always teach is this idea of a pendulum. That instead, sometimes things are going to swing one way, and sometimes things are going to swing the other way. And sometimes work is going to be on one side, and it's going to need you. Because guess what? You have responsibilities to clients, to supervisors, to funders, whoever is in your realm of work. And that's okay. But instead, we see it as society is painting, which is that if you're not home by 5 o'clock, then you're putting your career over your child. God forbid you do that. And I'm saying, no. No. What I'm saying is this is the time that work needs you. Maybe you have a deadline. Maybe you have a huge pitch or whatever is going on that you need to commit to. Great. Focus on that and then know that the pendulum is going to swing the other way and you'll have time at home.
Yeah.
And that way it kind of relieves some of this guilt. It kind of lets our shoulders down. But we're not trying to be perfect. We're not trying to make sure that everything is exactly equally juggled at the same time. Instead, we're recognizing that we live in the gray and that life sometimes goes one way and sometimes it goes another. And that's okay because it'll get back to the middle at some point.
I love that concept of the pendulum because even when we were talking about, finding the theme for this chat and like work-life balance, like every time I think of that, I'm thinking like I have to spend at least 50% of my time at work or like, 50% of family. And like, if I need more, then it's like, I feel bad. Like I actually, then the guilt comes in like, oh my God, like I'm ignoring my child and my family. But you're right. Because now even as you're talking, if you think about the pendulum, like, okay, there's seasons, right? There's cycles. And in this cycle or season, maybe I have to focus more on the work. But then summertime comes and then we slow down the work and then we have more, family fun time. And that's okay. And I think it's less pressure to think it always has to be this like fixed balance. So then that leads me to my next question is, once working with you and going through the program and kind of finding your groove, is it one of those things where it's like, all right, once I find the system, I just set it and forget it? Or is it something that you have to constantly revisit and revise and adjust?
You know, that's a beautiful question. One of the things I always say is the fact that, like, I see when women come to me, it's basically like they're almost in this fog. They're like, I'm trying to do this, I'm overwhelmed, I'm doing this, I'm doing everything. Like, just tell me what I need to do to be quote unquote better or quote unquote more balanced, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I say, well, what is it that you want? Let's look at your surroundings of your home. Let's talk about who else is in your home and how are those relationships affecting you. Then from there, we create the habits, the routines, and systems for success. But guess what? Just like with the pendulum, like, things happen.
Mm-hmm.
There is no magic, like, finish line. And that finish line is going to keep moving further or closer away. The difference is when you have the foundation for yourself and you know what your anchors are, you know what your compass is, it's a lot easier. So I think out of everything that I do, that is like such a highlight when I work with women, is really helping them anchor what their compass is. So that way, anything new that comes along the way, it's not like, Sasha, should I do, should I not? It's about, okay, well, this is what I've come to. This is the place I'm at, and this is what my priorities are. Does this align?
Mm-hmm.
Am I willing to give something else up in order to do this? And understanding that we have limited time. We all have 24 hours in a day. And what do we want to truly use that time for? When you actually know those answers, you're able to make such clear decisions. You're not in the fog anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And you have the routines to make sure that you're sticking with those decisions as well.
Mm-hmm. So for a mom who is feeling all kinds of way and maybe have never worked with a coach or never worked with somebody, because this is not really something we're taught in school to know, like, you still got to learn after. It's more than just textbook things. Like, for the mom who's never really worked with like a coach or anything like that, like, how would you describe like the importance of this type of skill or these systems for them in their life?
Yes. What I try to say is, because I work with working moms, what I always start by saying is the fact that think about how you are at work. There was a new quote unquote management course, right? That, like, oh, this course is going to teach you how to be a better manager, or this course is going to teach you how to be a better salesperson. We easily go for it. Why? Because we know that it's important for our career development, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how come we don't value it the same way when it comes to our personal home life development? Working with me for 12 weeks will have such an effect of where you'll experience freedom and health and more time. So for people that are like, I don't know, I'm saying, what are you saying no to? You're saying no to and staying in the mediocrity. You're saying no to and staying in, well, things are okay. It's like having a personal trainer, right? Because most people wait till they're, extremely overweight to get a personal trainer? No. People start to see, like, okay, you know what? Maybe I need to go to the gym more. Maybe I need to do this, right? We try to be proactive, but in our personal lives, we have almost such a higher barrier, in my opinion.
It's true.
Of seeking the now. Like, okay, well, things aren't that bad. But why do they have to be that bad? Why does it have to be, quote unquote, you're ready to, like, throw in the towel for your, like, relationship before you see a therapist, or, throw in the towel for, like, your kids before all of this? We don't need to be at this tipping point of where things are so bad when we can start now, and things will be so much lighter, so much easier along the way.
Yeah. I love your perspective on all of this, and it makes sense. Like, you don't wait till you're 50 pounds overweight to start going to the gym. You just start from the beginning, so you never get to that point. Or maybe you start to feel something that's things might be a little overwhelming. Let's try to bring somebody in to help. So,
and why do you hire a personal trainer instead of just going to the gym? Anybody can go to the gym and work out, right? Anybody can read books. Anybody can watch YouTube videos. Anybody can listen to things. But the thing is, when you work with a coach, it's one-on-one. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually designed for you. It's somebody coming in with an outside perspective, whether it's me or whoever, that outside perspective that's able to give you a glimpse of what else maybe you're blinded by. Just like a personal trainer, you may be going to the gym 3 times a week but not seeing results.
Mm-hmm.
Why? And then somebody comes in, they're like, oh, it's because your body type or this, and you need this type, whatever it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing as having a mentor at work. It's an outside perspective to have a long-lasting result and success in your life.
Yeah, I love that. So what's like the biggest takeaway you can give our moms who are, in the community because they do prioritize their self-care and wellness, but just doesn't really know where to start? Like what's like the biggest takeaway that they can get from you?
So I'll do 4, one
Okay.
for each of the systems, right? So for self, what I would say is start with the positive. So think of 3 things that you enjoy, okay? So 3 things, such as like yoga or hiking or just a bath or whatever. Small things that you enjoy. 3, write them down. And then schedule a time next week to do one of them. And the reason I say 3 is because, again, it goes back to my whole philosophy. We're not robots. So to me, saying we're going to do yoga every Thursday at 1 p.m. for the rest of our lives, guess what? Sometimes you're not going to feel like you want to do yoga at 1 p.m.
Yeah.
But when you have those 3, you can easily look at it. And because then you have choices, you feel in control, and you're able to actually be excited about it and do it instead of feeling like, oh, I have to do yoga again. So for self, I really recommend just 3 options, 5 at most if you're really eager. And that way, setting a time, and just know during that time, you're going to do one of those. So you don't have to think about, what am I going to do? It's one of those, and it's whatever you feel like in the mood. So that's for self. For home, and what I would say is less is more, right? We know that there's so many benefits to having like a home that's put together, a home that doesn't need to be expensive, but just a home that's for you. So what I say to that is look at one space, an easy space. Let's say even things like a living room. What do you actually want your family life to be like in the living room? Because if you want more board games, if you want more family time, is it set up that way? Are the couches even facing each other so that way you can sit together? Are the board games located in another room in like a closet somewhere, totally out of the way? Put them there. What is it that you want? If you want to talk about more of like family memories, have the family albums there. Like create the space for you to make sure that you're already on that path of creating the memories that you want in that space. So that's for home. And then for relationships is the fact that, for those that have partners in the home, one of the things I normally see is saying that, well, I asked them to do it and they never do it. Or I told them to take the garbage out. And how come they haven't taken the garbage out? And what I say with that is you shouldn't be the only one doing things in the home. However, start with something simple, okay? So if garbage is a trigger for you, don't ask them to take the garbage out. If you can't stand the laundry not being folded right away after it gets out of the dryer, don't start with asking them to do that. Pick something small to set them up for success, whether a partner or a child as well. Just because you know that they can make their bed, if it's going to trigger you that every day they're at school and you're looking at the bed not being made, don't ask them to do that. Ask something simple to set them up for success so they can feel that they are able to do it on their time, to do it their way, and it helps the family. So that's my tip for relationships. And for habits is that, honestly, self-care can look any way that you want. Any way. All right? I feel like we have this idea that it has to be the spa. Or it has to be like, this like all day nap almost.
Yeah.
To like just catch up. Let me just catch up. But what I say is, again, just keep it simple. What is it that you enjoy? What do you want to do? And honestly, the biggest tip I can give you, especially if you're a working mom in terms of routines and habits and systems, is it's simple. Don't answer emails in the morning.
Yeah.
My goodness. Because what happens is we wake up, We wake up, we look at our phone, we look at our emails. Our minds automatically jump to work. Even if we're saying we're not going to answer that email until we're like at our desk working, had our coffee, all of that good stuff, your mind's already there. So let's not have your mind jump there. Let's have your mind stay with home so you can focus on your children, so you can focus on being able to have a morning you can enjoy.
Mm-hmm. That email tip, I've started doing that probably a couple months ago. It's not checking email or like messages, just not really looking at the phone and just really staying in the family and present. It's also less stressful because you don't want to immediately start your morning with stress. But we are coming up to time, and I don't want to take up any more of your time, but I want to thank you so much for joining the Mamaverse. If you wanted to share real quickly, how can moms find you and work with you? What's the best way to get in contact with you if you wanted to share?
Yes, absolutely. If you are a working mom, head on over to sashaxhome.com and you can download the 5 steps to coming home happy after work right now. And if you're like what I'm saying, I do lives every week in my Facebook group. So head on over to Facebook and join the group called Moms Taking Their Lives to the Next Level at Home.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Sasha, you have to join us. You know, the Mamaverse, we are just building the community right now. We're actually in like a private invite beta. I will send you a link for you to join. But everybody who's watching, I also encourage you to click the link and join the wait list. This is where we're going to prioritize the self-care for all moms and where we get to hear from experts like Sasha as well. So thank you, everybody, and I'll see you on the next slide. Bye.
Thank you.